want to take a moment to welcome those that are at Lenexa, up at the Speedway, the men up at Lansing, and all of you that are joining us worldwide on the internet today. It's an amazing thought to me still that people can check in on what's happening at Westside worldwide. I got a buddy that's in Montreal, Canada today, checking it out. So hello to Evan up there. And thank you for being here. We are literally in the middle of talking about what does it mean to go all in for Christ. What does it mean to go all in for Jesus? And specifically, what does that mean in this moment in time at Westside? You've got your notes, wave them at me. We are big time note takers and want to give you the big idea for this all in series. We talked about it last week. We'll give it to you each of the 5 weeks. Here it is. Jesus is an all in God. Think about that, guys. Left heaven, lived a perfect life, died a sacrificial death, raised powerfully, and now prays for us. That is all in. He's an all-in God who seeks all-in followers. He's not looking for casual followers. He's looking for all-in followers to have an all-in impact. He's offering to partner with us to change the world, a way lost world. Do you have it? Jesus, an all-in God, seeks all-in followers to have an all-in impact in a way lost world. God is blessing Westside. Write that in your notes. In fact, I think I can honestly say 2012 was a year of his favor. Now, you've never heard me use that term. It's not a term that I use lightly. It literally indicates that God's hand is on something and he's blessing it. He's favoring it. He is honoring it. He has done that in 2012 at Westside. And I made a list of all the things and all the ways he's done that. In the process of us living out our vision of loving Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and sharing Jesus, 2012 has been nothing short of amazing. This is about half of the stats I was given. Don't try to write these down. You're going to get them actually in a booklet form when you leave later today. But just take in how God has blessed us in 2012. In Kansas City, let's start right here in our community. We had 3,000 adults in 245 life groups during 40 days. 1,600 backpacks are packed every week and sent home with inner city kids who would not eat over the weekend if Westsiders weren't packing those packs. 1,300 kids were in vacation Bible school at Speedway and at Lenexa. 700 plus discovered their spiritual shape. 400 adults took their next step by going through Get Connected. We encourage everyone to go through Get Connected. 280 new members, 278 baptized, which is just awesome. Here's the part I love. Listen to this kids stuff. 250 middle schoolers a week are engaging at Westside between Speedway and Lenexa. Now, all the parents of middle schoolers are going, thank God they're engaging. Because middle school's a tough time, and we're so excited about that. 150 plus high school students being equipped. 200 adults were trained at Westside last year, check this out, to be foster parents or adoptive parents. 200 in a year. I agree. I mean, that's just God giving us his favor. God saying he'll bless. He's in the adoption business. We're all adopted. Turn to your neighbor right now and say, I told you you were adopted. Tell him. Told you you're adopted. We're all adopted without a doubt. Here's a number that really blesses me. 8.7. Westside gave 8.7% more in 2012 than we've ever given in any year in our 37-year history. That's in the middle of a recession and in year 4 of an economic downturn. We're learning to be generous, and God is showing up. We planted New City Church. All of that happened in Kansas City. Now let's talk for a minute about what has happened internationally around the globe in 2012. 27,000 plus people heard the gospel overseas through Westside efforts in 2012 alone. 27,000. 15,000 South African kids were taught the values of abstinence and a biblical point of view by an effort that was largely led by our high schoolers there last summer. 5,000 plus were given HIV prevention training in India alone, 3,000 kids equipped every week, 2,000 kids fed daily just in South Africa, guys. Just in South Africa, we feed 2,000 kids every day, every day. 1,200 weekly engaged in our online campus. I'm so blessed by the online folks that we have people in China listening in right now, in Pakistan and Japan and Argentina and Canada, which is definitely a foreign place. 1,200 plus weekly engaged in that effort. 550 orphans that we house and that we clothe and that we educate. Guys, that's 550 kids that are Westside kids that we're responsible for. All of this happening internationally and through something that really and truly we didn't even make the effort for. We just happened to plant 12 new churches in Southeast Asia last year. God's favor is on us. I've been waiting for years to be able to say that. God's favor is on us. There's only one way to respond here, and that's to make sure we're not taking any credit. How about us just giving Jesus a hand for 2012? Can we do it? Yeah, it's Him. It's Him. It is nothing but Him. But you know what? Westside has always had a history of going all in. And Dan Shavern and Jim Heaton got together and kind of studied back through the history of Westside. Let me give you the short summary of our 37-year history. In 1976, 28 crazy people started Quivira Road Baptist Church. And they started it, catch this, to reach people living on the western edge of Kansas City. Quivira Road was the western edge 37 years ago. And they grew from 28 to about 100 that first year and stayed at 100 all the way till 1994. 100 folks that loved Jesus and loved each other, but hadn't quite figured out yet how to get out into the community. In 94, a group of men went off to Promise Keepers. They came back different. In 97, a group of leaders got exposed to purpose-driven, this idea of doing church for the church that's not here yet. That there's two churches, the one that's here, the one that's not here yet. And they got changed even more. And it began to grow, got up to a couple of hundred. And check this out, a couple of hundred of Westsiders left a perfectly good building and moved into a middle school because they wanted more space to reach more people. They met in that middle school for 2 years while the facility on Shawnee Mission Parkway was being built. I want to honor these folks. If you were part of Westside while it was meeting at the middle school, you're part of the crazy group that left a perfectly good building, you were reached or you were there during those middle school years. Would you stand for a moment? I want folks to see you. Would you stand? Check this out, guys. Bless you. Yeah, pioneers. These people know about all in. They went all in. The new building was built, and the first Sunday in it, the church had grown already to about 500 in the middle school. The first Sunday in the new building on Shawnee Mission Parkway, it grew from 500 to 1,000 and never looked back. By 2001, we were adding extra services. 2002, 2003, we branched into the venue at the Monticello Shopping Center. Do you guys remember that venue? I mean, some of you hear that a lot. What was the best part of the venue? Donuts. We had great donuts and great coffee and great parking that was right there. We put our kids over at La Petite Academy. Do you remember that? And we had our first experience with a video venue, live worship, video teaching. We had 250 seats. We filled it twice, and in 2 months, grew 500 more back at the box because the seats were now available. Westside kept going. 2005, we started talking about how to put campuses around the city. 2006, the craziest group of Westsiders ever, the Speedwayers, those who love speed, were willing to go out on a faith adventure while this building was being finished. They said there's a group of people to reach that live in Lansing and live in Leavenworth and live in Piper, and there's this great opportunity to do church in the theater at Speedway. We're all in. And 400 of them went. They still do set up and tear down every week. in, by the way, one of the greatest facilities in all of Kansas City. Do you know they can walk out the door and have their choice of 50 restaurants within walking distance? That is wrong, people. Last week, they had 900 plus. I'm telling you, Speedwayers got the Westside spirit. In 2006, we moved into this building in June. 2007, we ran smack into a crisis when we found out that our lead teaching pastor at the time had had a moral failure. I will never forget standing here on that Sunday morning and telling the church. We had professional consultants that came in and told us, at best, you're going to lose 40% of your attendance and 40% of your giving in the next year. At worst, the church may not make it at all. And God said, watch this. Now, if a redneck says, watch this, you better run. But when God says, watch this, you better lean in. And Westsiders stood their ground. And we went all in. And God did a cool thing. This pastoral team that was already here, that was some amazing folks, Jim and Matt and Troy and Sean, they rallied, and a few months later, Dan Shavrin came. He came in the middle of the crisis. He's crazy. He came, and then a year later, I finally woke up and went from part-time to full-time and moved from North Carolina here. And John Huber came along just before I did, and Jeff Manford, and then Brian Phipps after I was here. And this group of pastors, but more than that, the people of Westside rallied and said, God's not done. In 2009 and 10, we began to reshape our mission and our vision. We came out with the idea that we're about loving Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and sharing Jesus. The church kept getting healthier in 2011. And in 2012, guys, just a year of God's favor. Now, there's two things I want to make sure you got in your notes. Are you ready? First one is Westside has a 37-year history of going all in. This isn't new. We have a 37-year history of going all in. Westsiders have always done whatever it takes. That's what we do. We're all in. But here's the other thing I want you to write in your notes. As awesome as it's been, as incredible as 2012 was, God has more. He's got more. How do I know? Check out this verse. Life verse for me. Things that eye has not seen, and ear has not heard, and mind has not conceived. All that God has prepared for those who love him. Now, guys, we've seen him do a lot. We've heard a lot of the stories. We've dreamed up even more. I can dream a lot. All this and more God has prepared for those who love him. Last week we gave you our all-in goal. I want to give it to you one more time. It's to reach 1,000 new unchurched families. Now, why is that a big deal? Think about 1,000 moms and dads that don't know Jesus now, but they will, and they'll parent differently. Think about teenagers being reached that don't have to mess up their lives the way we did before they get their lives to Christ. Think about children. Think about preschoolers already being raised in the love and the grace of Jesus. Think about that at Speedway. Think about that at Lenexa. Think about that in 2 new campuses we're going to do internationally. Think about that at the prison. It's an incredible, incredible opportunity. There is a challenge, and I want you to hear about the challenge. Our number one challenge guy is a guy on staff who's the executive pastor by the name of Dan Shavrin. He has the challenge of managing me. Do not underestimate that challenge. He's the guy that keeps this place going all year round. How about a hand for Dan, the Shavrin man?
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, buddy.
Good to see you. Howdy, everybody.
Now, Dan, the really, really, really good news is, wow, dude, it's been a pretty cool ride lately.
It has been a great ride. Yeah, we watch these things. We are all about health.
Yep.
We are all about fruit, and we're fruit inspectors, and we track where things are fruitful. And we have seen a God thing, as you just described.
It really is.
We're not that good.
No.
So we know God is on our side.
Anybody that looks at this staff knows it's not this staff, guys. I mean, seriously, you got to be kidding. I know us. It's a God thing.
Yeah,
Well, Dan,
sure is.
you know, this is a lot better circumstance than the one you came to 5 years ago.
Sure
Dude,
is.
you literally were flying in to be interviewed for the job of executive pastor the weekend that I shared with the church what was going on.
Yep. Well, and there were those, as you said that the church might not make it, and it was a crisis moment.
And God
And
showed up.
God, you know, God is beyond all of us. And
He is.
He was not done with His church, and it's been a real privilege for me to be a part of what God is doing and has done.
But dude, seriously, you got to be slightly off to come to that. I mean, do you
Yeah.
just like train wrecks? What's
You
the
know,
deal?
I'm a little bit of a fixer, problem solver guy, and I do love a challenge. But I will say this: Leslie and I and family came out here because we were called.
God brought
and
you.
God had a blessing for us, so we could be part of this family.
He did. And I believe, guys, if you're part of Westside now on any campus or on the net, God's got a piece for you to play. He knows you're here. It's not a coincidence. Well, Dan, we do have a bit of a challenge, a bit of a crisis.
Yep.
It's a good crisis.
Yep.
What is it?
Well, our main crisis right now, or our limitation, is the fact that we're now growing. Everything is going so beautifully, and people are discovering this vision, and they're discovering the people, and falling in love with the people, and there's something drawing folks here. That's the hard part, by the way.
Yeah.
Most churches would love to have that problem. Most churches in America are either shrinking or stagnant.
85% are in decline.
That's astounding.
Yeah.
And so we have this incredible advantage that folks are coming here, but we keep bouncing off of our primetime limitations.
That's the deal. So it's prime time, Dan.
It is prime time.
At Lenexa.
At Lenexa primarily is our gate. It's our bottleneck.
Our 9:45 and our 11 o'clock. Look around right now, guys, here in the room at Lenexa. This is not true at Speedway, but it will be soon. There's not a place where a family of 5 could come in late and sit together other than the front row.
Right.
And I got news
They're not
for
gonna
you.
do that.
First-time guests are not coming to that front row. Just like you didn't come to that front row. You know I can spit that far. So I get that. The deal is literally, guys, we're out of primetime space. And Dan, it's not just a worship thing out of space. I mean, are we out of space in the rest of the
Well,
building?
the beautiful thing about this building is they built it in a very balanced way. So when we're full here, and you guys with kids have experienced this, we're full in kids. When we're full in kids, we're full in students. So as we grow here, we bump up against our limitations.
So
for all.
out of primetime space for
Yep.
preschool children,
Yep.
youth, and for worship at Lenexa. Now,
right.
question, are we out of primetime space at Speedway?
No, right now we actually have seats in Speedway. Our biggest challenge at Speedway, we feel, and from the feedback we've gotten from folks there, it is very difficult. Some of the seats there are very difficult to sit in. In other words, the front seats are
The front
so
seats are
close.
They're dealing with 30-foot Dan.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
let's just say it.
It's a little too much, Dan. Yeah.
By the
Yeah.
way, Speedwayers, help me with this. When we run into each other in public, don't look at me and say you're shorter than I thought you were. I am 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
thank
30
you.
feet is
No,
a lot
I'm
of
not
you.
30
so,
feet. That's a lot of me.
But so what we really have is an experience challenge there. We think we can make some real improvements so that every seat, front and back, would be a great experience and more folks can
Because
come.
right now, Dan, they're about 45% full. We are at Speedway in the first service, and
That's
we're
right.
about 60% full in the second.
That's right.
But the front quarter of the room, it's not a good seat. The back quarter, it's not a good seat.
That's right.
So we got to do some visual things and some audio things
The cool thing about Speedway, they always lead the way, right? So
always
Speedway,
have.
there is this opportunity to reach, I don't know how many, 100 people,
I think they can reach
200
200
people.
families there,
They,
yeah.
they have seats that they could fill if we give them a little bit of help and make some investments there.
So Speedway, we got room, but we can improve the experience.
Absolutely.
At
Fill it
Lenexa,
up.
we're out of room at prime time,
Yep.
and you're experiencing that from parking to kid space to in this room
Yep.
right here. So Dan, what are our choices? You're always a bottom line guy.
Well,
Help
bottom
us.
line is this. I mean, we either stop here and we continue to bounce people off who come where we're full. And if we look out 2 years, our projections out 2 years say we are absolutely, in 24 months, there's no room for anybody. There is no more room.
So the option is do nothing and we stop growing.
Do nothing, and we've just decided that we're going to cap this
Don't
church.
reach anybody else.
We've never done that before in our 34-year history.
No.
But that's one choice, and probably not a great one.
Not a choice.
Or we go all in and expand our tent stakes, make room for new families.
Dan, I've literally been told that we've had families of 5 come in at prime time, 5 minutes late at Lenexa, not be able to find a seat, or go to the children's area and decide it's too full and leave.
Yeah.
I can't live with that. You can't live with that. We can't live with that because we never get a chance to even talk about Jesus to first-time guests who can't get in
Yeah.
and therefore turn themselves away. It's a great problem, Dan, and we're going to work on a solution.
One of the things I love about this church is we prefer new people.
We do.
We make room for new people. It's
do.
our history, and it's one of the reasons why I stand out front, to make sure that we're watching and we have folks just being embraced by this church. And this congregation gets that more than any church I've been a part of.
We're blessed to have you. About a hand for Dan Chevrolet.
Thanks, guys. God bless.
Bless you, man. Thank you much, bud. The really cool part of this, guys, is I know what we're going to do. We're going to go all in. I know that. We always have. I believe we always will. But thank you. Thank you for that. Right now, grab your notes again. I want you to look at 3 ways we're going to go all in. Write these down, and we're going to talk through them. We're basically proposing this all-in faith adventure in 3 buckets. I'm a category guy. Dan even more so, Shavrin. So here they are. 1 category is for families. We do want to reach that 1,000 new unchurched families. The 2nd category is for our impact, because we are always a church that concerns ourselves with what's going on in the metropolitan area as well as around the world, specifically in the 3 places God has us working, in South Africa and India and in Thailand. And thirdly, we want to go all in for our future, because whatever you do today cannot poison tomorrow. You cannot strap yourself so much financially today that you cannot have the future God wants you to have tomorrow, okay? Now, you've never heard me say this. Put down your pens for the next few minutes. I'm going to tell you when to pick them back up, but for the next few minutes, we want you to just jump into this. You're going to get a booklet with all of these details on your way out today. But we want to talk about those 3 buckets. What does it mean to go all in for families? What does it mean to go all in for impact? What does it mean to go all in for our future? For our families, it means these specific things. First, we're going to add a worship space for 600 plus on the Lenexa campus. It will be a video venue. That means live worship, video teaching, simulcast, same times as prime time is for us now. Now, why would we do video? How do we know it'll work? We already know it'll work. We did a video venue over in the Monticello Shopping Center years ago and filled it up in 2 months. We have 900 speedwayers that are Westside Speedway that are doing a video venue every week. And besides that, if you're more than 6 rows back and I'm on the screen, you don't look at me. You don't look at me now. I stand here every week and 2/3 of the audience is looking past me. You're looking at the screen. We're doing the video thing, so we know that'll work. Add a worship space for 600. Expand our kids' space by converting our current student center here at Lenexa. If you've been to the student center, you've seen that it's got a high ceiling. It's as high as the rest of the building, so we'll add a 2nd floor in there, turn the bottom floor into additional preschool space. If you've got kids in preschool, you know we need it. Top floor into additional children's space, which will make both those spaces adjacent to the space they already have. Then we turn around and add a new student center, that's youth, middle school, high school. Check this out, with space for both to meet at the same time. Yes, yeah. The people that are clapping are families with both middle schoolers and high schoolers, who right now at Lenexa don't have the option that we can do at Speedway. At Speedway, we can do middle school and high school at the same hour. We've got space. But at Lenexa campus, we've only got 1 room that's big enough to do that. So middle school's in at 9:45, high school at 11. We'll be able to do both in the same hour. And then fourthly, on the facility side, we want to optimize the Speedway worship experience. Improve the first quarter of seats, the back quarter of seats, every seat in the place. If every seat at Speedway becomes a good seat, Speedway can lead the charge in reaching these 1,000 new families. That probably means an HD signal being sent to them. It probably means improved video there. It will mean that. It'll mean other options besides just 30-foot Dan for the folks that are down front. It means we can improve every seat in terms of video and audio, and Speedway can lead the charge. Literally, guys, check this out. This will enable us to reach 600 new families at the Lenexa campus, 200 new unchurched families at Speedway, and another 200 unchurched families by adding a 3rd campus at the prison. That's just happened. And by adding 2 international campuses that I'll talk about in a minute. This goal of 1,000 new unchurched families is doable. It's way doable. Let me kind of show you a picture of what that expansion would look like, okay? It's going to come up right now. First, we're going to take the current student center space and convert it, again, to a downstairs floor preschool and upstairs floor of children. We'll then build new student space. That's that top area, back to the picture that's in blue. Notice it's got two big spaces, some hallway space in between, and then we will optimize the Speedway Center experience, as we've already said. The bottom piece down here, guys, is the video venue here. Now, some of you are going, that's great, it's not enough for me to grab it. Well, we got more. We want to show it to you. Through the wonder of computer and creative architects, we're going to show you a fly-through. Now, this building is not designed, so it won't look exactly like this, but we've got some general ideas of what it will look like. So we're going to swing around, check out the big screens, to the new south entrance. On the right is the venue we're talking about with 600 seats. Pretty sweet setup, same closeness as this room. Extend the commons, and then on the left side here that you're seeing now is middle school and high school space. The blue is the student center that will convert to 2 floors, preschool, first floor, children second. We're now going to swing around to the entrance that most of you use on Sunday morning. Out front, you come into the building, you meet Dan Shaver. That's him standing right there. He's there every service. I think he lives there on Sunday. There's our commons coming in. Going down to the new extended commons right down here. But check this out. What, ladies, check it out, ladies. Bathrooms. Bathrooms that are not a quarter mile away and with lines coming out the door. Be amazing. Into the new video venue. This is what 600 seats would conceptually look like. I like the fact that the guy up front is really thin and young looking. May that be the case. That would be awesome. And this is the view back toward the room from the front. Again, same kind of stage layout as we have at Lenexa now in the building here, but a little bit smaller, intimate space. 600 seats would be amazing. We're going to walk back out of that into the new commons area again. Across that commons is the new student center. So let's head into that, looking back down toward the old commons there. Here's the new student center. A little bit of space to connect the 2 rooms. Again, instead of 1 room for students like we have now, we'll have 2 rooms, 2 spaces for students. One will hold up to 250 middle schoolers. Now think about that. Doing that in both prime time hours means we can reach a whole bunch of kids. Check out, they got their own sound booth up there with their own youth sound person who's turning it up, I promise. Definitely turning it up. Back out into the hallway space and across that hall, another room for 150 high school students. Again, we can use it twice, again with its own sound setup and its own stuff going on. We're going to walk back out through that hallway again and back out into the commons. Again, this is all concept, but it's just fun to be able to look at it. That's looking back out the commons now. That's looking toward the new video venue and then out the new doorway. And check this out, an outdoor gathering area that we probably won't use a lot in January, but we will use a lot in June, okay? Swing back around and look back toward the building on the new south side, and that's what it's going to look like. Swing out. And you can see how the space is extended. We will have a roadway connecting on around some additional parking places along that roadway. Will it be exactly like this? No. Is that the concept? Yeah. What would happen if we had room for 600 new families at Lenexa? If we made room through the video experience for 200 more at Speedway, 200 more internationally, it's 1,000 families. It's amazing, amazing impact for families. Let's look at the second bucket, and that is going all in for our impact both locally and around the world. In Kansas City, in the United States, we want to continue to fund Westside's existing partnerships. We don't treat other churches and other ministries in town like they're competition. They're not. They're our teammates. They're on our side. We're all doing kingdom work. And we want to keep funding those efforts, particularly in KCK, downtown especially. We also want to expand our Westside Lansing prison ministry. We've just this past month gone from minimum and maximum to now we're also in median security. We have church going 3 times on Sunday out there for 3 different groups of prisoners. Check this out. Many of you are in the 4-week all-in life groups right now. We have 21 all-in groups going in the prison with 143 prisoners signed up. I agree. Those guys are going all in. We want to go all in for impact in South Africa, one of the places we work. We're launching a new campus in Port Elizabeth, led by Casey Robinson and Stephen Collin. They start meeting every Sunday on Easter. They haven't been meeting every Sunday yet, but they've already had several baptized and several come to faith in Christ. That's not supposed to happen before you start the church. But it's happening before they start, and we're excited about that. We'll continue to support orphans and compassion ministries and church planting in South Africa. In India, our next country where we are working, we're going to continue to support the New Life Children's Homes. In India alone, we have 250 kids that we house, that we feed, and that we educate. We're not going to quit doing that. Those are our kids. They're Westsiders, but we're going to continue also other compassion ministries and church planting efforts, particularly. In Southeast Asia, in Thailand, we've been partnering with a church there for a while, Bua Baptist Church. They're now officially becoming a Westside campus. So we're going to have a campus in Thailand, guys. I don't speak any Thai, but I eat a lot of Thai food. I can eat me some serious Thai. So we're going to go in with them as well, continue compassion ministries, church planting, all in. So we're doing all in for families, all in for impact. Let's talk for a minute about going all in for our future. Listen close. What I'm about to say matters a great deal to me and a great deal to the pastoral team and our advisory team. No additional long-term debt. I want to say that again. No additional long-term debt. I don't like long-term debt. We don't like long-term debt. When this team first regrouped 5 years ago, there was over $11 million worth of debt left already at Westside. It's now down to 7.6. In a tough economy in the last 4 years, we've paid it down that much. We're going to keep paying it down. In fact, that's the second piece, additional debt reduction. I do not believe we have the right to hand our debt to our kids and our grandkids. Do you agree? I don't believe we have that right. Lastly, we'll accelerate our future ministry capacity. What does that mean? It means when there were 28 Westsiders, they had this much capacity for ministry. And when there were 100, it was this much. And when it was 500, it was this much. And when it's now as big as it is, it's this much. We reach 1,000 new families. Here's the cool part. Nobody brings new people like new people. People that have just come to Christ are still got high zeal. And they're crazy enough to keep inviting their friends. And they bring folks with them. We believe that we can take a step of faith but be financially responsible at the same time. So we're going to go all in for our future. What's it going to cost? You ready for this part? I'm ready. Here's the all-in budget. The projects we're talking about, which is the new space at Lenexa, improving the video and audio at Speedway, and the 2 international campuses, is a $5 million cost. That means that we need to raise $2.5 million the first year and $2.5 million the second year. We're going to do a 2-year commitment. If we don't commit it, we won't build it. We're not going to do additional long-term debt. That's part of it. So $5 million for the new project. Westside's budget regularly is about $6 million when you take our normal budget and add in our impact things that we're going to continue to do. It's just over $6 million. So $6 million times 2 years, everybody give me the math class, $12 million. So $5 million for the new projects, $12 million for what we already do and will continue to do, is a total of $17 million over the next 2 years. This can be done. In fact, I believe we will do it. And we will reach 1,000 new unchurched families. Look this way. I could care less about building a building. I could care less about whether it's 30-foot Dan, 20-foot Dan, or 6-foot Dan at Speedway. I really don't care a lot about capital expenses of any kind. The bottom line for me and for this pastoral team is reaching people for Jesus. That we care about. Families being turned away can't live with that. So we're going to go all in, guys. Westside has always gone all in. I know we're going to do it again. Pick your pens back up. You ready? Going to get you write down a couple more things, and then we've got an experience we want to do all together. How can you go all in? We're going to talk about it for the next 3 weeks. Next week's all in living. Week after that's all in praying. The week after that is all in following. But here's what you can do beginning today. Pray big. This is God-sized. You don't reach 1,000 new unchurched families if you're not praying big. We started this with prayer. We're going to bathe it with prayer. Secondly, lean in. Anytime a new strategy is proposed, there are people who want to pick it apart, and there are people who want to lean in. Let me encourage you, lean in. Lean in. Here's the way to lean in. When people ask you about it, I'd say, I like it, and here's my favorite part. And tell them your best part. I mean, what is your best part? Some of you will be excited about new preschool space. Others will be excited about fixing things at Speedway. For others, you'll be excited about the international pieces. Some of you are going, I'm excited there's no long-term debt. I'm all over that. Lean in. Talk about what you like best. And then finally, give generously. We're going to commit together in 3 weeks what our 2-year commitment will be. Here's what we're going to ask you to do, guys. We're going to ask you to tell us everything you can give in the next 2 years. We're going to commit what we normally give and commit as well what we're doing in addition. It's one unified, all-in, $17 million effort. I'll tell you this now. Mary and I are making the biggest commitment we've ever made to any organization or any church. And we've given to a lot of stuff in our lives. I love giving to potential. This one's giving to a proven plan to reach 1,000 new unchurched families. We are going all in. You can put your notes away, but I want you to buckle up your seatbelt. God is blessing Westside. He'll continue to bless. Check this out.
Things that eye has not seen, ear has not heard, and mind has not conceived, all that God has prepared for those who love Him. God wants to do something so big and so awesome. The only explanation, it's a God thing.
Families who come to Westside, they're going to experience a place that is real, that is welcoming, that is authentic, that is alive.
All In is a church-wide faith adventure where we're asking God to give us 1,000 new families. Think about that.
The impact that we have is far beyond the walls here at Westside, and so I want us to embrace that. I want us to really engage in the community and the life of the church here. The impact that we have is eternal.
We were tight-knit boys, brothers and more than men.
Think about thousands of kids. I hear all the time that children are the future of the church. No, they are the church of today.
And by doing this, we not only help their lives to improve, we introduce them to a Savior, Jesus Christ, who gives them hope and a reason to live.
And I was there when you grew restless, left in the dead of the night. And I was there when 3 months later,
We have always been a people willing to go all in to reach the church that is not here yet.
I think at its core, All In is a spiritual journey. It's a challenge. And every now and then we all need a stretch. We all need a challenge. I know I do.
Everything goes away, yeah, everything goes away. But I'm gonna be here till I'm nothing but bones in the ground.
You know, Westside has the opportunity to really transform the whole city through All In as we reach 1,000 new families and have them discover God's mission for their lives and then engage in that mission.
For us as a church, for every person to get all in, means that we want to see 1,000 new families come into the Westside fold to see what Jesus can do through their lives. Now, I got to tell you, their last names are not all going to be Smith.
And they said you were the crooked kind.
We estimate that around 27,000 people are impacted through the gospel of Jesus Christ through Westside Family Church. And that is awesome.
When we were kids, we swore we knew the future, and now our words would take us halfway around the world.
You know, we feel such a great, wonderful honor and responsibility to continue that heritage, to make room for more families that will come behind us.
Across the sea.
We're seeing life change that's leading to community change that can lead to world change. That's what gets me up in the morning. That is why we're talking about going all in.
So I think it's going to be a spiritual journey that we'll all look back on in 5 years and say, wow, look at what God just did.
We're inviting you to join us to go all in for family, for impact, and for our future. All in is a God thing.
I first saw that video on Wednesday this past week, and the tears were just running down my face. And I've seen it several times since so that I wouldn't cry here this morning, because when I cry, I can't talk. What God has already done here as we've gone all in is nothing short of amazing. What he's going to do next as we go all in is going to blow our minds even more. I want to thank you for going all in, Westside, in advance. Thank you. A couple of things and we're done. On your way out today, we're going to hand you an all-in booklet. It has got all the information you just heard. Please get one per family. At the back, there is a commitment card. We'll talk about that more in the next few weeks. We're going to make those commitments on March 10th, 3 weeks to do that. We're going to be praying and living it and following Jesus the next few weeks, and then we'll talk about that along the way. I also want to remind you to put the name in of the family you're praying for. You can write that name down on the board today. Please don't put their first and last name, just one or the other, and we'll have those displayed. Some of them are out there already today, and here in the Commons at Lenexa and in the lobby up at Speedway. And lastly, we're doing a free lunch today for anybody who'd like to come by the Lenexa campus at 12:15. Speedwayers, you're invited. Anybody listening on the internet in the Kansas City area, you're invited as well today. And Lenexa, you too. And during that lunch, we're going to hang out for about 45 minutes, and we're going to do two things. We're going to say, what part do you like best? And we're going to let you talk about that. And then secondly, Dan and I will answer any additional questions you might have. Any questions you might have about where we're going with All In. Things that eye has not seen, ear has not heard, and mind has not conceived. All that God has already prepared for those who love him. We're going all in, guys. Would you pray with me? Jesus, my life has been changed through this church family that is Westside. I have dozens of friends and neighbors who've come to know you through this place. You have blessed us, Lord, every time we've gone all in. We do so again, knowing you will bless again. I pray, Lord, even as I hear kids crying in the background, help us reach the parents, Lord. Help us reach those kids. Help us reach those youth. We're all in. We look forward to what you have for us. In Christ we pray. Amen.